Hello everyone, I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today I'm reviewing this CSS Criton 1TDX DIY speaker kit that available to purchase for everyone. This kit contains this soft tone tweeter and paper cone based driver with very good high quality crossover parts, and also you can purchase together with the kit is the flat pack MDF cabinet. So all you need to do is you just need to assemble it, glue it together, and finishing option, whatever you choose. You can do veneer, you can do vinyl wrap, or you can even paint it if you like. So overall experience is very easy and straightforward. Anybody can do it. The components and parts and everything that come with this kit is very good quality. Other than pre-drill holes that come with this mounting the speaker binding post is a little too close for my liking and a little too close for my cables. I will have all the measurements and comparison between standard crossover and superior crossover, as well as a sound demonstration of different crossovers. So I will get to that later in the video. Right now, I just want to get into sound quality. I will start with the standard crossover. When I was testing and measuring the standard crossover, I was using that 7 by 11 acoustic foams right around in the back, right behind the crossover, and another foam right behind this bass driver. So frequency response and sound reproduction with standard crossover is very good musical sound with. Soundstage is incredibly deep for this size and price of the speaker, and especially the price that you can get for this DIY kit. Soundstage is very deep and rich, engaging sound signature and nicely roll off high frequencies and brilliance area that really nicely rolled off, and there is no brightness or forwardness in the sound reproduction with crossover in this kit, the standard crossover in this kit. So overall the experience is very musical, very engaging to listen, very accurate sound reproduction with human voices are very accurately reproduced. Particularly, female voices are incredibly accurately reproduced with very nice musical sound reproduction, with nice space and detailed sound reproduction with accurate sound quality that I can really appreciate listening to this CSS 1TDX kit. You really have to go up to probably like $1,500 to $2,000 price range to have a comparable frequency response and sound quality from major brands. That's how good this kit with the standard crossover can be. Highlight of my experience is incredibly deep and rich sound signature with accurate sound quality. So after like 3 weeks with the standard crossover, I switched over to superior crossover. What I noticed right away was the incredibly detailed sound reproduction, better high frequency extension, more space between the notes. Female voices are more accurate, real lifelike sound quality that we can truly appreciate. And bass performance is very articulate and tight and taut response with very good definition to it. And a tightness is really greatly enjoyable to listen. The kick drums, like rock drums particularly, are very realistic. Probably this is one of the best bookshelf speaker that can reproduce rock music properly. Like of my favorite bands like AC/DC or Guns N' Roses or Nirvana, Metallica. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, Led Zeppelin. The drums and bass lines are incredibly great sounding, real live-like sound quality reproduction with very defined sound signature. That rock drums and kick drums, probably this is one of the most realistic sound reproduction with this kit and superior crossover, more so than with the standard kit. So that's where the the difference is. Bass performance is comparable, but more definition, more detail, and more tightness and tautness without overly doing anything. That incredibly great for this size and this price of drivers and this component. So that's why it could be the real great bargain if you can do it yourself for your music enjoyment. So they sound great with the rock music. They sound, I mean, you can throw any kind of music, they will reproduce the sound with the great authority and detailed sound reproduction with realistic live-like bass performance and drum sound reproduction. That's how good they are. So particularly the way I pointed out with the rock music is not many speaker, particularly bookshop speaker, cannot reproduce rock music properly with full authority, with dynamism and incredibly lifelike quality of rock music, exception of the CSS1 TDA's kit, which can reproduce rock music like no others. I mean, my Bowers and Wilkins 706S2 or like LS50 Matter or even Evo 4.2, they have a very good musical sound quality, but they are never able to produce rock music like this CSS1 TDA's kit. That's how good this two-way design is for the music listening. So there is a little downside to it. Female voices are very accurate and incredibly musical, very accurately reproduced. But when it's come to male voices, it's a little bit overly rich for my taste. Not the singing voices like, dialogues and conversations. Particularly, I listen to my own voice. That is the, my main way of testing the male voices. Then my voice is a little bit deeper and richer than the like speakers like this KEF R11 or Quad S2. Other than that, I mean, they can reproduce the voices and everything very accurately. The little downside is the male voices, a little bit richer and a little bit deeper than our actual voices. So that's how I would like to point it out. Other than that, it's incredibly great sounding, musically engaging sound signature. And there is a little downside in superior crossover compared to standard crossover. Everything is better than standard crossover, but when it's come to higher end sound reproduction, superior crossover is more extended, more accurate, meaning less forgiving. So anything that you have in music, it will accurately reproduce. Some music will sound bright, some music will sound engaging and natural. So that is, I think, more to do with that, superior Z caps, because those Z caps, they have that kind of tonality and sound quality that they can reproduce. So some may say that is the most accurately reproduced sound. Some may say it's a little bit brighter than they may like. So that depends on how you take it. So personally, I really like the way that it can reproduce the sound with standard crossover, and I really like the way that it can reproduce the sound with superior crossover as well. So if you want to upgrade to superior crossover, there is a little point that I mentioned before. High frequency can be a little bit unforgiving, and it will totally shows the quality of recorded music that you might have and you listen to. So that is a little up and down sides. So if you want to compare back to back, then you will notice that spaciousness, space between the notes, definitions and bass definition, and particularly superior crossover is superior. So that sounds weird, but they are, and I really appreciate the way it sounds. Standard crossover will get you very similar or better performance than speakers like KEF LS50 Matter and Bowers and Wilkins 706S2 or that kind of price point, because bass performance, soundscape, and skill and dynamism is better than those speakers, particularly in bass performance. This one will go as deep as medium-sized floor standing towers. Overall sound quality, very good sounding, great price to performance and quality ratio that you can have. So I can easily recommend it to anyone who is not afraid of doing it themselves. So this is great bargain in my opinion. So let's get to the measurements here real quick. So when I measure in the standard crossover, acoustic foams or placement is a little different than with the Superior. So I place the 1.7 by 11 acoustic foams right behind the bass driver and in front of the standard crossover, and another acoustic foams right behind the crossover between binding posts. So there is like a 2.7 by 11. When I measure in the Superior crossover, the one in the back is the same size acoustic foams, but in front I use the two foams on each side of this bass driver. That is the 5.5 by 7 acoustic foam. So that's where the acoustic foam size and placement is differently between the measurements. So regardless of the acoustic foam placement, the Superior crossover have a great definition compared to standard crossover across the frequency range. So bass performance with the CSS1 TD8 kit is as good as any mid-size floor standing towers. I mean, that is a seriously good sounding bass quality that you can get out of this kind of small bookshelf speaker, which is, I mean, that is the most highlight of my experience with this standard or Superior crossover. That bass performance is incredibly good for the size and price of the speakers. One of my reference track, which is a Michael Jackson Earth song, the intro of that music, intro that come along, then there is like a very deep bass notes that not many bookshelf speaker cannot produce. So this one can reproduce easily musically with great definition, so which I really appreciate, especially when I listen into like Alice in Chains or AC/DC. They have like a distinctive bass notes and drum rolls and kick drums that the drummers are playing. I mean, those notes are incredibly musical, incredibly realistic. So price, performance, and quality ratio you can get is incredibly great. Probably the best sounding, best performing bookshelf speakers under $3,000, no matter what brand that you're gonna compare with. I will have a few comparison with speakers that I have, and this will give them run for their money. That is, I can guarantee. So if you have a big room, this one can play loud and give you very good frequency response. Then you might need a subwoofer, depends on what music you listen to. If you have a mid-sized room, if you don't listen to music with very deep bass notes, this one can get away without the subwoofer. If you have a small room, you don't need a subwoofer, period. You can get away without a subwoofer, and it will give you incredibly deep and rich bass notes with great detail sound reproduction. No matter which crossover you go with, it will give you incredibly great sounding musical experience. So I can easily totally recommend it to you. This price point, if you are not afraid of doing it yourself. So based on my testing, based on my listening experience, based on my musical preferences, this one I can easily recommend it to anyone who wants a great sounding, great performing bookshelf speaker without paying a lot of money. So highly recommend it. Greatly appreciate the way that they did on this CSS kits. They are probably one of the under the radar brands that you have to find out. I mean, this is a really good experience that I had. Then I can easily totally recommend it to anyone who appreciate great sounding bookshelf speaker without spending a lot of money. So that's it, my friend. That is my quick review. Thank you for watching and happy listening.